Hello, everyone. Welcome to Simply Cyber Live for today's episode, Security by Default, Mastering the Intel vPro Platform Ecosystem. I'm your host, Dr. Gerald Dozier, here to take you on a deep dive into the world of advanced security solutions brought to you by Intel. Are you ready to embark on this incredible journey? Buckle up, because these things are about to get interesting. Here's a small nugget of wisdom for you. The evolution of technology, while bringing us unprecedented advancements, has also opened the doors to potential threats. But guess what? It's also paved the way for excellent advancements across the cybersecurity landscape. Boom! Today, we're going to talk about one such powerful technology, the Intel vPro platform. Now, I'm sure you're excited about today's show, but guess what makes it even better? We have got the perfect guest for this experience. Today we have with us Venky Venkateswaran, an expert of the Intel vPro platform's security features. Venky Venkateswaran is the Director of Client Product Security, Virtualization Architecture, and Definition for Intel's Client Computing Group, the CCG. In this role, Venky's team is responsible for establishing client product security, virtualization strategy, driving silicon security features and investments, platform architecture and definition, and key partner with OSVs and OEM engagements. That's a lot of work, Venky. Venky is a 25 plus year industry veteran and has spent the majority of his time focused on security virtualization product management across several product lines, including netbooks, tablets, and phones. He's got a wide berth of experience. And besides security virtualization, Venky also explores opportunities to leverage key adjacencies such as manageability and our favorite, artificial intelligence, to constantly elevate security and security solution performance on Intel platforms. This is going to be something in the show for absolutely everyone. Like every single person is going to get something out of this show, whether you're a seasoned cybersecurity professional or just a curious novice. If you're a chief information officer or you're a college graduate about to finish, or you're just finished graduating back in May, and you're like, what do I do? You're going to get something out of this. Believe that. There's going to be value. And guess what? The best part, you get to be part of the conversation too. You see the chat feature on your screen, whether you're on LinkedIn or YouTube? Don't hesitate to engage. Ask questions there. Venky and I will do our best to answer them live right here, turning this into a real-time knowledge exchange. So let's get this party started, folks. Fasten your seatbelts, put on your thinking caps, as we delve into the fascinating world of the Intel vPro platform. Let's go. Hey, Venky, how are you?
Hey, Jerry. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. I genuinely appreciate it. And it was really nice to get to know you a few minutes before in the green room. So, Venky, let me get rid of this sliding caption because we're not starting soon. We have straight up started now. And I'm going to put your participant's name up there so if people want to connect with you, they'll know who you are. So, Venky, the Intel vPro platform is one of Intel's flagship technologies, and it's been gaining attention in the cybersecurity community as well. But for our listeners and our attendants who may not be intimately familiar with the platform, could you kick us off by explaining what the Intel vPro platform is and its role specifically within the broader context of cybersecurity?
Yeah. So when you look at Intel vPro platform, it is not a single technology. It is a collection of technology and collection of value props designed specifically for the IT pro. And essentially, the value for vPro platforms comes down to four things. And at the highest order, we are trying to build the best platform for business. So that's basically where it all starts. In order to do it, we anchor it on four value propositions. One of them is you get the best performance when you buy a vPro platform. You get the best security.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, all of our security capabilities, you will basically have as part of the vPro platform.
Mm-hmm.
You will basically have the best manageability as an IT pro. You want to be able to manage your platforms well, and we want to basically provide the necessary tools for that. And as a IT pro, you also want to make sure the devices you're purchasing is basically not changing underneath you, so that you're able to manage it in the long run, and that comes down to stability. So performance, security, manageability, and stability, and all four at the best possible way is how we deliver a vPro platform for IT customers.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. It's like it's very thoughtful and deliberate, frankly, to address what I would consider like core tenets of IT's needs. And then I appreciate you guys throwing some love on the cybersecurity group as their own people, especially. And I know we're going to get into this later in the talk with some of this malware that's been out there that's really trying to drill down underneath the operating system. So, as we're all aware, the cybersecurity landscape is increasingly crowded with various solutions. That makes it important to understand what sets each one apart. So, given your expertise, Venky, with the Intel vPro platform, can you highlight some of the key cybersecurity features it brings to the table and how these differentiate from other platforms?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the when you look at the security as a pillar, there are three aspects to it. We actually look at providing protections. Before OS boots, even before the OS boots, there's a bunch of things that happen in the BIOS and things like that. And what we want to do is we want to provide the best protection for the BIOS, so that as you transition from booting your system from the BIOS onto the OS, you have a good handshake between the two. And as you're, in the OS and you're trying to do a whole lot of tasks, we want to protect you from malware in the OS. Could be kernel malware or other types of malware that
Mm-hmm.
you might have. And essentially, there is a lot of protections built into the Intel vPro platform that we bring to bear on that front. And then the third aspect here is, even though we provide a lot of protection capabilities, you still will have to deal with emerging threats and whatnot. And for that, we want to basically provide both preventative capabilities and also detection capabilities, so that you can actually quickly detect threats as they come up. And an example of that is the Intel threat detection technology that's part of the Intel vPro platform that we provide as well. So there is a collection of things that we bring to bear to address across the stack, right from
Mm-hmm.
the firmware all the way to right from the hardware, and then the firmware, and the OS, and the application stack and beyond. So it's a whole package that you're getting when you're looking at vPro and the security capabilities that vPro offers.
I love that. We have a question from CJ in chat, and he was asking, are the settings that you're talking about basically burned in, or are those settings modifiable?
Yeah. So in I think this is an apt question. I'm going to give you a little bit of history, and then I'm going to basically talk about where we are headed with some of these capabilities that I'm talking about. Right. Historically, the way we have done it is for people in cybersecurity or in IT, we are basically um, uh, you know. Uh, Sorry, I was looking at the chats here.
No, 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 that's fine. I'll
Uh,
tell you what,
so,
getting caught looking at chat it's a rite of passage, Venky. Yeah.
so there are capabilities that we actually put in, but when you look at security capabilities, if it is not something that is performant enough, or if it's basically trying to get in the way of what you're trying to do, that can
Mhm,
actually be problematic, right? And essentially, the issue is, if you basically say, I'm going to turn on all the security capabilities, you might actually end up running into issues. So
mhm.
a good analogy that I have is, everybody's risk profiles are different, and for each of them, they might choose certain aspects of these. So we actually build in flexibility to make sure customers are able to choose the security capabilities to best protect themselves for the threats that they face, right? This is like saying, Jerry, you need to have X amount of life insurance. Your situation might be different than mine, right?
Right.
So we might actually have different sets of things that we want to do. At the same time, there is a baseline set of things that we want to make sure we enable by default. So many of those things we work out with our partners, whether it is a OEM or our partners like Microsoft or Google, to make sure we enable it right out of the box, so that the end customer, as you're getting the system, it is basically configured, and it is secured by default, so to speak. So that is where we are actually headed, over the long run. But we also think that we want to treat everybody with respect, in the sense, we want to give them the opportunity to further customize as they see fit, and not be the one to kind of dictate, oh, this is going to be the security bar that you need to be living with.
Yeah, I love that analogy. As you were saying it, I was also thinking one that's more accessible to non-tech audiences would be like, if you're accessing, a kind of a disposable account or something like that, maybe your Slashdot account or something silly, like, 8-character password's fine, but maybe your bank account, you'd want 24 characters or something. It really does boil down to a GRC conversation. Venky, I'm always trying to push GRC into the limelight. We don't get enough love, the GRC folk. And I see Sean Washington had a great question. Sean, we'll get to your question in just a minute. But one thing that you had said that really resonated, and I wanted to follow up, Venky, was you had said, we want to make sure that handoff from BIOS to OS is smooth. And I'm kind of curious, like you guys in the vPro platform have lots of great features. And I'm wondering, has that been an iteration over time based on events, or is it based on research, or is it a little bit of both?
That's an amazing question. I think there is an element of research, there is an element of looking back, and it is the collective wisdom of the ecosystem that actually comes into play, right? When you look at, say a Windows PC or whatever it is, there is a lot of players involved. You have, Intel, you have our key partners like Microsoft, you have our key customers like Dell, HP, Lenovo, and many of the PC OEMs. We actually have a methodology of looking ahead in terms of what does our customers want, and we basically kind of plan out what are the set of features that we need to bring to bear. And in many cases, we also look at the threat landscape. We have pretty good connections to the security community and the security research community.
Mm-hmm.
We also have very strong research arms, at Intel and at our partners, and we actually, compare notes on, for a particular platform generation that we want to build, what are the sets of, security improvements we want to drive. And it actually will happen in two different ways. One is there are the security features that we would basically turn on. These are like widgets that you can turn on in Windows or in BIOS or whatever it is. But there is also things that get baked into the silicon itself. We have people that actually look at how we can break our own silicon internal to Intel. We have these security labs that actually go and look at it. And for every product generation, we look at threats to our own silicon and the features that we put in, and we basically come up with methodologies that help us build a better silicon as we basically build future generation of products, right? So all those things actually feed into how we basically deliver improved security year over year. So the goal is, we basically continuously raise the bar, because the hackers and the bad actors, they're not stopping, and they're going to elevate the game, and it is going to be something where we need to be 10 steps ahead
Mm-hmm.
as a collective ecosystem.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that you guys are thinking that way. I just want to remind everybody we'll be doing this every couple minutes, but I want to thank Intel for allowing us to bring this live stream to all of you today. So genuinely appreciate Intel for that. Venky, our listeners in chat, by the way, you guys are wonderful. I'm flagging all your questions. They're always interested in real world applications. We've even seen some chat come across about real world applications already, and how new technologies can help them combat the threats that they're facing, like today. With that in mind, can you share how the Intel vPro platform helps to mitigate some of the most common security threats that businesses are grappling with today?
Awesome. That's a fantastic question. So when the best way to combat existing threats is to make sure that your systems are up to date and patched, right?
Mm-hmm.
To do that, you need to have capabilities like the Intel AMT technology that allows you to do remote patching, remote backup, and all these things. So essentially, you have the ability to unobtrusively update your end customers' systems, if you will, using the technologies that Intel vPro platform offers. So that's number one. Number two, there are several threats that that are very hard for a typical antivirus to tackle. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
an example is you could have a cryptojacking attack that is happening. Somebody is basically trying to crypto mine and sucking out on your dime. They're basically mining on your GPU, for example, or something like that. And what we want to do is we want to bring in low-level telemetry that we have at the CPU level, and look at, hey, somebody seems to be, using the crypto instructions that we have, many more than what is typical. So
Hmm.
maybe there's something fishy happening, and then we basically will inform the likes of, say, a Microsoft Defender or whatever it is, to basically go check out the process and see if there is something malicious happening. So if there is a malicious cryptojacking process that is running in your system, Defender can use the telemetry to basically stop it before it gets too late, right? The same thing happens with things like ransomware, for example.
Hmm.
You don't want to be held ransom, and we have seen many of those things happen in the news, even to very sophisticated and large enterprises, right? So nobody's immune to these kinds of attacks, and the vPro technology, the Intel threat detection technology that we offer, it gives advanced telemetry to many of these providers like Microsoft Defender and things like that,
Hmm.
to basically use the telemetry to deliver a quicker remediation for issues before it basically goes on too long, and then kind of locks you out of your own systems, right? So there's a lot of these kinds of technologies that you can actually use as part of the Intel vPro platform to protect yourself against threats that happen to each of us every day.
Yeah, I love that Intel isn't just a company, because you guys have been around for quite a while and have established yourself as like a consistent, quality. I love that you guys engage with the community and engage with the, I guess, for lack of a better term, the vendor ecosystem, right? So the Microsofts and the EDR providers and such like that, in order to ultimately, what I would consider, deliver a more secure, comprehensive environment to individuals, but really businesses who are trying to execute business and frankly don't want to get kneecapped basically underneath the hood. I had a follow-up question to this, but Sean Washington had already asked it, so I'm going to give Sean the credit for this one. Can we talk a little bit about Fileless malware, because and how the Intel vPro platform can assist with handling this type of threat?
Yeah. So when you're looking at malware that's actually resident in memory or something like that, you need to basically have better scanning mechanisms, advanced scanning mechanisms for those kinds of threats, and that's basically where the Intel threat detection technology shines. When you're doing these kinds of memory scans, there is a historical challenge that or the trade-off that we always need to think about. How often do you basically do this memory scanning, versus the risk that you're taking by not
Hmm.
scanning long enough, right? And the reason is, all these memory scans are going to take performance cycles away from your end users, and the primary reason for somebody to use a PC is basically for productivity and getting their job done. And if you're running these constant scans in the background that's sucking cycles away, that's actually not a good thing. So what Intel has done is, we basically are providing capabilities for these EDRs and vendors like Microsoft Defender to kind of use other engines that we have in the system, like our graphics processing unit and things like that, where
Hmm.
you can actually use that to scan memory for these fileless malware kind of things. We actually try to provide uh, compute assistance to people that actually do this kind of scanning. So the way you'd want to think about it is, Intel is not providing an anti-malware solution, for example. We actually make it more performant, more efficient in terms of being able to catch these things, right? That's basically our role, and our purpose of existence, to make these third-party solutions better, right, on Intel platforms. And that's what we actually do by either providing hardware capabilities built into our silicon, or providing offload mechanisms into the other engines that we have in the silicon. So that's basically how we deal with this.
Yeah, it really it's going to take me a minute to really like let it sink in about how you're adding security features into the silicon, right? I mean, that's like when we talk about kind of the, you got the application, you got the OS, you got the physical. Like you're taking the physical to like to the next level as far as like securing the hardware. It's awesome. I love it. Um, we see, guys, your questions are amazing. There's so many great questions in chat. I'm trying to see if there's some that kind of tie into what we're talking about right now. I'll just grab one here. Kayla Sturgeon wanted to know around polymorphic malware, since we're kind of talking about common threats and
Yeah.
vPros. Yep. If you want to respond to this.
Yeah, I think the polymorphic malware is definitely when you have things basically kind of evolving and transforming on the fly, your typical malware is not going to be able to identify it. And this is basically where a lot of the behavioral techniques basically come in. And you need to basically this is like when something looks like a duck and walks like a duck and
Mm-hmm.
squawks like a duck or something, it must be a duck, right? But it may not be the exact duck that you think you had fingerprints on. It could be a different duck, but you still need to be able to find the duck, so to speak. So essentially, the idea is our EDR vendors are doing an amazing job at expanding the ability for them to move beyond the DAT file based or signature based mechanisms into more behavioral. And this is basically where we see things like AI and other things also come in, where we can actually do more of those kinds of things on these kinds of more hard to or evasive malware like polymorphic malware,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to address them. So the Intel threat detection technology and the research that we have going there and our partnerships with EDRs are focused on addressing these kinds of advanced threats.
Yeah, well, so I think this might be the same thing. Kayla had a follow up question about living off the land techniques, which use the binaries that are native to the operating system. Is there any difference in the way that Intel's vPro platform would help those EDR providers with those?
You're talking about something like a ROP attack where the gadgets are being reused and things like that.
No, no, I wish, but that's the next question because you just asked it. Now I'm like really curious about how to do that. I think Kayla's talking more about where instead of bringing in Fileless malware or instead of bringing in your own malicious payload, you're simply leveraging PowerShell in weaponized ways, or you're weaponizing some type of DLLs and stuff like that. Um, yeah, if you'd like to respond.
Yeah. I think it's an amazing question, Kayla. So thanks for asking. To a large degree, many of these things basically are problems that we collaborate with our uh, OSV partners. Basically, we'll be working very closely with people like Microsoft, people like Google, and our EDR vendors to see because many of these things are what you're talking about is at the software level. And for those things,
Mm-hmm.
if they need something that from the hardware, right, that actually makes it more efficient or effective, then we basically will provide it. We don't actually have a direct path here in terms of addressing these software threats. We work with the software vendors to go address it, and if they need hardware assist to go do it. And that's why I was basically kind of uh, giving asking about the
Mm-hmm.
raw attacks and things like that, where there are things that you cannot solve those problems if you don't have hardware capabilities. So essentially, Kayla, if you want to reach out to me offline, I'm on Twitter, at Real Venky, or on LinkedIn. You can hit me up. I would love to hear more about your ideas and thoughts
Mm-hmm.
on what we can do in the space. But from a hardware perspective, we actually look for problems that you can only solve with hardware, because the way you'd want to think about what we do is we actually build products or design products 5 year out. So we don't
Mm-hmm.
want to actually put silicon investments where somebody else has found a easier software mechanism to go solve, right? So we actually focus our efforts on solving problems that cannot be solved without hardware. And a key thing is basically this return-oriented programming capabilities and things like that. And we have actually provided advanced capabilities like Intel control flow enforcement technology that actually provides the ability to stop these things on the tracks with when it is enabled in the OS. And we also can actually have CPU telemetry to figure out many of these things, and we can actually provide those assists for EDR vendors so that they can actually easily detect these kinds of capabilities.
Yeah, and I would say for anybody in chat listening right now, if you'd like to go a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole than what we're doing right now, I would strongly encourage, and I'll drop this in chat on Venky's next response. Check out the following. Run down the wiki rabbit hole of the following: DEP, ASLR, ROP. That was the order of of like defenses
Yep.
and threat actor behavior, and then JOP replaced ROP after the fact. If you really want to get low level software exploitation, that's the path to go. All right, Venky. Final question, I promise, on this kind of segment,
Yeah.
because Kimberly asked a wonderful question, and I know I had done some reading up on this in preparation for the interview around BiosGuard. I think
Mhm.
Kimberly wanted to know, like, what about rootkits? How are rootkits, bootkits kind of addressed here?
Yeah. So I think that's an excellent question, right? One of the key things to address rootkits is basically to make sure rootkits basically is going to allow you to load, uh, you know, uh, load software that or the OS that you know you didn't plan on, right? So to make sure you are absolutely certain on the firmware you're running and the OS that you want to run, there are several capabilities, and BIOS Guard is one of the capabilities. So when in an Intel platform, when you basically start booting the platform, we establish a chain of trust. Okay, the chain of trust basically starts with our silicon and the ROM that Intel put into hardware. That is the core of the trust, and
Mhm.
then we use that to verify the next stage in the BIOS process. And the boot guard is basically doing that verification to make sure you're basically loading the right firmware that you're supposed to load. And once that BIOS boots up, then you get into the UFI secure boot and things like that. So
Mhm.
BIOS guard and things like UFI secure boot are very important things to enable in your platforms. As you basically secure a platform. This is like, in COVID, we basically say you got to wash your hands with soap,
Uh-huh.
for 18 seconds or whatever it is, right? This is like basic hygiene that you need to have because the capabilities do exist in Windows platforms, but whether it is ignorance or whether it is not knowing or having overconfidence or something, people basically turn off these things for a variety of reasons, and that is not good practice. And if you go back to the secure by default theme that we are trying to drive to, we want to make sure there are certain aspects of this base security that is actually fixed in fixed solid. So essentially, when when you're buying a system from a vendor, an OEM, you need to have these things basically turned on. On Intel vPro platform, we have a set of requirements that we want our OEMs to be able to do, so that there is a baseline of security that you can actually expect from these vPro platforms. So things like enabling boot guard. And for extra credit, I'm going to basically say BIOS guard. I think Matthew, you're. I was actually going to BIOS guard, and then this thing pops in. Matthew just read my mind.
You
So
see how
BIOS
Simply
guard.
Cyber works, Venky?
So
There's a sharp audience.
awesome. You have an amazing audience. I love it. So I think they're coming up with amazing questions. So the BIOS guard is basically the capability to make sure the flash cannot be updated. So your firmware sits in the flash, and that flash has to be updated with using authenticated procedures and things like that. With BIOS guard, that's exactly what you're trying to do. So there's boot guard that's actually going to be enabled, enabling your verification process of making sure you're verifying and booting the right things. Your BIOS guard is going to make sure that nobody's going to tamper with it, in Flash, right? If you turn on
Hmm.
your BIOS
Hmm.
guard capabilities.
Oh, it's awesome. Thank you so much. So as we kind of transition out of that, as cybersecurity professionals, we know that no system is infallible, and you've already kind of spoken to this, but I want to go a little bit deeper. because that includes the hardware level, and security isn't just about protecting end users. Although, Venky, I want to introduce you to this avatar that we call Carl here in the Simply Cyber community. And anybody you know who named Carl, it's unfortunate that there's this conflict, but we have this avatar of the end user who will click on things and fall for fishes and stick USB drives into whatever. And this is who we lovingly call Carl. So we know it's not just about protecting Carl from Carl, but also the platforms themselves and the systems that they utilize. So how can you explain, how does Intel ensure that the security of the actual Intel vPro platform itself, particularly when it comes to potential hardware level vulnerabilities, is addressed?
Yeah, I really feel for Coral, and
Yeah.
we can no longer, as people that actually take these cybersecurity seriously, we cannot be blaming Coral
Right.
for. It needs to be Coral proof, if you will, right? So essentially, we need to make sure the products that we build are not reliant on somebody doing things perfectly, because we don't live in a perfect world. Things are
Mm-hmm.
always going to be going away, right? So that is one of the reasons why I think the secure by default comes into play. And the secure by default isn't just about enabling capabilities that we put into vPro platforms, turn them on by default, but also, as you take it to the next level, one of the key things, I want to give a shout out to my friends at Microsoft, for doing a great job with Windows 11. And when they actually released Windows 11, they enabled virtualization by default. And one of the key things about that virtualization is there is a lot of virtualization based security capabilities. So we are using virtualization to protect the OS, and a lot of those capabilities are being turned on by default. So kudos to Microsoft for helping raise the bar, and having those capabilities on by default is going to give you the protection. And again, no technology is 100%,
Mm-hmm.
and the technology is only as secure until it's broken, right? And every technology is meant to be broken at some point. So it's an evolving game, but the least you can do is to make sure that you use all the capabilities that are provided to you, the
Mm-hmm.
protections that are given to you by default, so that you're fairly protected against potential uh, things that, let's say, Carl might do, right?
Yeah. Hey, and really quick, I just want to point out, Venky had just mentioned Windows 11 and that hardware functionality. I just want to bring it up. We're going to drop a link in chat in 1 second if you'd like to go deeper on this particular topic. It's very, very interesting. But I just, not to interrupt you, Venky, but I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to share that with the audience.
No, perfect. I think it is super important. I think when you look at this particular collateral, we talk about how the security capabilities that are offered in a Windows 11 are enabled with hardware capabilities. And in many cases, you can actually see that the genesis of many of those features actually stem from our long-standing partnership together, right? We
Mm-hmm.
have been working together on many of these things for a very long time, 5+ years, for launching, right? So essentially, as we basically work together on future platforms, we want to make sure the hardware and software comes together seamlessly to kind of protect our customers. So that's the goal that we try to work towards. And as you can see in that white paper, you can actually see there's a lot of features, and how they actually reinforce each other, right? In terms of hardware features reinforcing software, and so on and so forth. So that's a good white paper for your audience to check out.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's not only like Intel protecting itself, but again, really, really leaning into these strong relationships with vendors in order to have a comprehensive security across the stack. It as you're saying it, I'm like it just it makes so much sense, right? It just makes a lot of sense. And I'm personally, I know I'm just happy to see that it is very it seems like well intended, right? It's not just about revenue and stuff like that. It's well intended for the good of everybody to have these secure systems to be able to do business and move in. You know what? It actually goes back to those four tenets you mentioned earlier, right? Manageability, scalability, security, performance, right? All the things that you want and you need it across the entire stack.
Exactly.
So I saw a question coming up, and I thought it was a really good question. But in order to prepare the question, let me ask you my next question as we move into kind of implementation, right? So we've been talking about the capabilities. We've been really focused on the hardware and the tech focused stuff, but implementation is really key to any technology, right? Like how many times has somebody bought something, racked and stacked it, and then that was the end of it, right? It never really delivered. Can you share some of your thoughts around how businesses might look to incorporate the Intel vPro platform into their existing infrastructure? And maybe what some challenges might be that they could that you could help them, overcome with that.
Yeah, I think uh, every corporation needs to have a strategy for uh, you know how they're going to protect their employees and their
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure and everything else. And the PC purchase decision should be part of that strategy. I assume CISOs will have chief information security officers will have a seat at the table when people are basically making these choices, right? So if you're using something like a MITRE framework or something like that, you can basically try to see, how you can actually utilize the capabilities that Intel vPro platform provides, whether it is, the capabilities that we provide to address ROP, like Intel, CET, in the Control for Enforcement Technology,
Mm-hmm.
or it's technologies like AMT for remote patching and things like that to kind of keep your systems up to date and things like that. Or it could be virtualization based security things that you need to enable to address certain threats, threat classes and things like that. I think those are the types of things that you need to plan out as part of your broader cyber protection strategy that you have as a corporation, right? And if you guys need some help on how the Intel capabilities fit into some of your strategies, I think
Mm-hmm.
you can reach out to if you have a sales partner that from Intel that actually supports you, you can reach out to them, or you can hit up some of us on Twitter or LinkedIn or something. We'll be happy to have a chat with you on this.
Yeah, I want to. So we had a question in chat that fit perfectly in here. And this is really kind of a independent thought, but CJ wants to know, okay, so feeling pretty good about Intel vPro platform, which I totally get, CJ. What's kind of something like what's that one bullet that you could use for the CEO or the CFO? Because let's be honest, right? The CFO, that's the one you really need to convince about
Totally.
about purchasing vPro line. I mean, there's a lot of great features, and obviously you've outlined many of them already. But what would you say to CJ going into the boardroom meeting in 15 minutes?
That's an amazing question, right? See, when you're buying systems, you're not, it's not a transactional purchase. You're basically buying it. It's not something that you're going to refresh like in a year. This is going to be in your environment for multiple years. So if you're basically thinking about a system that you want to put in your environment for multiple years, and should have the ability to take advantage of the new software stacks that's going to show up from partners like either Microsoft or Google or whatever it is, you really need to kind of think about the long term. And the best platform for business, as it comes down to productivity, in terms of performance, so to speak, in terms of security, manageability, and stability, uh, you cannot actually, get a, find a better thing than vPro, on an Intel lineup for any model year. Okay, so if you're really thinking about the long term, it is a no-brainer for that you would be picking vPro, because that's going to give you the longevity. You're not going to run out of gas, if you will, right? But if you go want to buy down the stack or whatever, and then you want to go put that thing in, you're going to miss out on a lot that you might end up regretting later. So I was basically asked similar question before. It's the if you're basically uh, not going to want to have this FOMO or fear of missing out, you want to you want to go after the vPro line, because vPro line is going to have all the bells and whistles that you need for the longer run.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and I really want to quickly say shout out to chat. You guys are just crushing it with the questions. I see people like Chris Cahall, Gary Sturgiadis, Jamie Flex, CJ, James Randolph, Sean Washington. So many wonderful people. New and old members. So genuinely appreciate y'all being here. Now, one interesting thing about chat, Venky, is that they are a diverse audience, right? And some are small businesses, some are entrepreneurs, some work in IT for large enterprises, right? Can you kind of speak a little bit about the scalability of the Intel vPro platform? Like, how does it cater to different business sizes needs? Particularly, obviously this is a cybersecurity focused content. So,
That's an excellent question. I think the way we kind of think about it is, vPro is actually built for businesses of all sizes, and and this is one of the reasons why the secure by default is something that is key. There are certain capabilities that you're going to need, the ability to manage and have an IT admin, configure it and things like that. In other cases, you might be a one-person shop or a two-person shop,
mhm.
a small business that's actually trying to just get things out of the box so that you can hit the road running. And most of the security features that we would put in, like for example, the raw protections that we put in with Intel control for enforcement technology. When you have a version of Windows, for example, that is enabled for CET, you get that protection out of the box. There is no configuration required, right, by somebody. Similarly, there are several other capabilities, and if you look at what Microsoft has done with enabling Windows virtualization
Mhm.
by default, you're getting many of those capabilities on by default as well. And the hardware capabilities exist that when you're basically turning on, say, a Windows 11 system that has this virtualization capabilities turned on by default, you are utilizing the underlying hardware capabilities that we offer. And the thought process is, the end users should not have to be have a PhD in security to be able
Mhm.
to turn things on. It should be something that is already available, out of the box. In some cases you do need that manageability, and there's going to be some level of complexity in terms of how you roll out. But the large majority of features that we actually try to target for vPro platform is done with all business of all sizes in mind, right? That's basically what we target as a sweet spot, so to speak, in terms of the features that we basically deliver.
Yeah, and like I wish I had so I have a soundboard, Venky, and I haven't been using it. I've been taming myself not to use it, but I almost wish I had like a sound effect of like a church choir, like ah, preach, like
Yeah.
like I have been begging um security product vendors up and down the stack to make things secure by default or make configure on startup or something like that. Like it's just such a it's been so bad for so long with you turn it on, packets are flowing, my job here is done. And I genuinely appreciate that Intel has put the thought forward with the vPro platform to enable security by default, because you're right. Not only do you shouldn't not only should you not need a PhD in cyber operations like you mentioned, but it shouldn't it should be enabled for anyone, like anyone to do it, and reduce the maintenance and overhead of having here. I'm gonna start losing my mind here. So I got to go big screen here, Venky. Like, not only should you not depend on like this human manual intervention, which might not be consistently executed, which might not be executed comprehensively, right? So you might have two people do it wrong. You might have one person who does it right all the time, but then they miss 10% of the infrastructure. Like, you just like you just delivered me a piece of cheesecake by saying that, Venky. It really is near and dear to my heart, enabling security by default. So end users like Carl doesn't have to think about it, right? Like I want to be able to ship, I want to be able to ship a system with the Intel vPro platform out to a salesperson, on the road because their machine fell in a puddle or something, and just know that they can get back up and running and they don't have to worry about it, right? It's so thank you,
Yeah,
Venky.
I would say leave Carl alone. I mean, don't use Carl as the punching bag anymore. I mean, we want to make your lives easier, and I think where we want to drive to is basically the secure by default, and our
Yeah.
partners are well aligned, and I think we have a mind meld there. So I think that's the way forward.
Oh, I love this. Jed Ray's dropping some knowledge. This is unconfirmed fact, just, for whatever reasons. But apparently, Jed Ray is reporting that Intel is the number one ranking on Forbes for most secure companies in 2023. So I'm not surprised if that is in fact true.
I don't know about that, but I would say we actually take pride in what we do in terms of our security assurance of products and things like that. We have learned a lot from the past, and we absolutely want to make sure we do our best to kind of find issues before we ship any and every product. So there is a significant amount of investments that we put out. What you would want to do is you can actually go and look at product security reports that we publish on a yearly cadence. You would basically need to um, uh, you can actually look at the issues we have found, how many of them. We want to be very transparent with what we find in our products and things like that.
Mhm.
So we actually put out those numbers so that you can actually look at them. There used to be a time when somebody picked up those numbers and said, "Oh, Intel reported, X number of, say, I'm just making numbers up. So let's say
Mhm.
250 issues in their product. The competition basically reported five. So maybe something's wrong with Intel." I think
Mhm.
that mindset needs to change. The thing is, you're basically finding issues because you're really going to find every little issue there is. So just because somebody basically is reporting something like five or something, you need to be wary in the sense, are they really looking deep enough in their closets? So
Yeah.
these are things that we actually look at. So I think that gentleman was basically saying, Forbes basically listed as the most secure company or something. I don't know, maybe I need to go back and check. Maybe I'll Google it after this. But
Yeah,
we
there's
take
links
pride
in the
in that.
description now, or links in chat. People have sourced it. That we've got
So
good OSINT people in chat.
awesome. So the thing is, we absolutely take pride in what we do, and I think this is one of the aspects that I think most of the people that purchase devices, actually overlook. One of the key things is basically, uh, you know, uh, when you're making purchase decisions, you need to really understand that we actually fix bugs at the hardware level, security issues, and make security improvements at the hardware level every generation. So every
Mhm.
generation you're basically getting a much better product from a security perspective as well. So this is something that you think of it like the you're seeing the tip of the iceberg in terms of security features we talk about, but underneath there is like a significant amount of investments that we make to harden the at the silicon level, which you can actually go read up on in our product security reports and things like that. Maybe we can send you some links that you can actually put in your description or something for the listeners later on.
Yeah, that would be perfect. That would be perfect. And I agree 100% with you, Venky, too. Like, any report, any statistic that wasn't done with academic rigor, you can point to limitations or bias or anything like that. So completely understand, with the disclaimer, but it's good news. I want to pivot really quickly because James Randolph asked a really interesting question. Okay, we've been talking about like workforce management and Carl end users, but what about, any type of functionality around servers?
I think right now I don't think there is any plans for vPro for servers per
Mm-hmm.
se, but that's a great question. Manageability of servers is something that Intel has looked at for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That there we had similar engines in our server products many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
but if you look at many of the vendors, they also have manageability stacks. You have these BMC cards and things like that you basically have in servers and things like that. So there are servers historically have been better managed than clients. So we saw an opportunity in the client to bring, you know, you can basically even say, the inspiration for something like vPro is the manageability capabilities that exist in the server, right? I think that's basically what triggered it, many years ago. We are almost like 2 decades in the vPro journey that we currently are on. So the thing is, right now, we don't have any plans for vPro
Yep.
on servers, but I think there are a lot of manageability capabilities that Silver Lineup has as well, along with our partners.
Sure, a lot of opportunity, but I agree too. Like it's a good question and it's worth discussing. But if you look from a security perspective, right, of a IT ecosystem, right, a fleet, your servers are going to compose, say, 10% of your IT infrastructure, and even less, honestly, in today's day with cloud and SaaS products, kind of pulling the IT infrastructure out of the data center and putting it up in the cloud. But your workforce is going to be there, and that's 80-90% of your IT infrastructure and management and such like that. And then with remote workforce post pandemic, you're dealing with a lot of additional complexities of security and threat, frankly, between remote access and, Carl, double, like there's all sorts of things going on. So I definitely appreciate, like, I guess what I'm trying to say, Venky, after I just listened to your response is like, it's not like, okay, like there's two things, there's servers and then there's endpoints, so like let's give 50-50. It's much more, getting back to this GRC thing that we talked about earlier, it's much more, well, what's the risk here, and how do we reduce the risk to acceptable levels for these two different categories of IT infrastructure. And I think Intel's doing the right thing by focusing on the right, because usually the data centers have a lot of physical security and, not a lot of people touching them and stuff like that. Whereas,
I mean,
laptops,
there are
yeah,
definitely threats like insider threats and other things that do exist in the data center space. There's a
sure.
lot of security and manageability capabilities that Intel does offer, right? Not necessarily under the vPro umbrella, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And chat's just gobbling this up. I want to say, like, more than one person, Venky, like, you're lighting this chat on fire so bad that multiple people have, like, left work and pivoted from their endpoint to their phone or, tablet. I know Alexandra earlier was driving and had us on hands free. So,
Awesome.
it's like great job, Venky. It's awesome. I also, Venky, I appreciate that you're here, but I also want to let everybody know that the live stream is actually brought to you by Intel. So thank you very much, Intel, for allowing us to have this amazing conversation with such an awesome person as yourself. Thank you. So let's kind of pivot. There's a lot of great questions, and if we have time, we'll get to them. But I want to go into the next question because I feel like it's a natural way to make sure that we address the bigger topic. So let's look forward for a
Yep.
second, okay? Looking forward is crucial in really any industry, but specifically in infosec. Technologies and threats are evolving like rapidly, especially with the advance of AI getting involved in the mix, and staying ahead is an absolute must. So like what's on the horizon for the Intel vPro platform, and how is Intel planning to evolve this technology to meet cybersecurity challenges for the future?
Yeah. So the cybersecurity, the only thing that's a constant is change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, definitely the Intel vPro platforms will continue to evolve and augment. When we started off, we talked about three buckets of technologies that we have. We talked about the boot guard and bias guard and things like that, which is more focused on what we call as below the OS capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
What we see is, as things evolve, you have virtualization turned on by default, and what we expect is, as you turn on virtualization by default and as it grows and use virtualization to provide security, ultimately you need to also protect the protector. So if you're using virtualization as the protector, as a bad guy, you might want to start to, target the protector in this case, right? So we have certain technologies that are specifically targeted to protect the hypervisor, and what you would see us do is, we'll improve, memory protection for these virtual machines and things like that, and many of those things will basically show up over time in our product lines as we go. And you know you cannot not say AI when you talk about the future,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because everything is basically going to be around AI. The way we kind of look at AI is basically twofold. We want to have secure AI and also to secure AI, right? So in other
Mm-hmm.
words, we want to use AI to improve security products that we build. At the same time, how do you protect the intellectual property that is the models and the AI models and other things that's going to have. So these things are going to be like key things that we basically look at as things starts to roll out. From a software perspective, you can actually see AI is going to drive the next iteration of the software spiral, if you will,
Mhm.
and then there will be hardware evolutions that actually keep up with it, and security also needs to evolve with it. So many of our futuristic things is going to basically look at how we marry the two, right? I think that's basically where we're going to be focused on.
Yeah, no, and I genuinely appreciate your response because, as you said on the onset of the interview, you're looking, you're working with different partners, and you're looking 5 years ahead, like that. You live in the future, Venky. You're just working in the present. You live in
Yep.
the future, which is gnarly, and I love it. One transition question here, and let me ask it. CJ asks a question, but I want to ask it a little bit differently. But CJ, thank you for the question. So he's talking about weekly threat reports and stuff. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you: does Intel offer any threat reports to answer CJ's question? But also, obviously, the work you're doing and with the partners is sensitive and intellectual property and stuff. But is there, in addition to threat reports, is there potentially any type of Intel release of any thought leadership or research that you are looking at that would be in the vein of your world?
I think there are two aspects to Microsoft. Microsoft is also an EDR, right, to a certain degree, and each of the EDRs basically put out their research arms basically go look at threats around the globe and things like that. So that's one aspect.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the 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 product security threat, right? And we put out those security bulletins, from time and again in our Intel websites. There is the product security report. You can go, annual product security report that we publish. There are always security research that we do on many topics. One of the topics that I wanted to, when you talked about the futuristic things, one of the things that's basically top of mind for me, as a matter of fact, I was in a meeting, earlier today, is about post quantum and what are we going to do in a post
Mm-hmm.
quantum world where, what if your crypto, as you know it today, is going to get broken? What do you do, and how do you protect your products in the future? So there is a lot of research that goes on around it. Not just within Intel, we actually fund academia to go do those things as well, and many of those things basically eventually get published as well. So we actually do a lot of that work, and we do share as much as we can. But we also have, between our key partners, we have strong collaboration in terms of you know threats we see to our products, and then how we're going to address them, and what we need our partners and customers to do to be more
Mm-hmm.
prepared and things like that. So we do that as well. Some of those things are for obvious reasons we're not going to publish them publicly, but in majority of the scenarios there is we put in ton of focus into this, and we share information with the right set of partners, and
Mm-hmm.
in the right cadence, so to speak.
Yeah, I love it. And we're just about out of time, but I would love to have you back. And I know chat would too. They're saying it right now to have a post quantum conversation. That
Oh, absolutely.
AI, you know what I mean? I feel like AI has stolen all the thunder from quantum computing, but quantum is pretty big. It's pretty important, and there's a lot going on, and it's very, very germane to the infosec industry. So maybe we can coordinate to bring you back
Yeah,
on.
and to national security for that matter. So I think it's a huge topic, and
Yeah, absolutely.
definitely front and center for us.
So, Venki, I always give my guests, like 30, 60 seconds. You take the stage, you go big, full screen, whatever you want to say, the stage is yours. I do want to thank you for being here on behalf of chat. Genuinely appreciate the thoughts you brought, the intellectual conversations we had, really getting a look behind the curtain at the Intel vPro platform. And, for myself, I can say a greater appreciation for it. But, Venki, I'd like to ask you for your final thoughts.
Sure thing. Hey, thanks for the opportunity again, Jerry. And it has been, thanks to your audience for the amazing questions as well. The thing that I want to kind of leave you guys with is basically to kind of summarize the value prop of vPro and the vPro platform. we take pride in building the best platform for business, and that's what vPro offers. And the key value vectors basically are along performance, to ensure you get the best productivity, you get best security, you get best manageability, and you get stability, so that you can actually manage these platforms, and it's not going to be a significant burden on you if you're an IT pro. So from our perspective, we hope you can actually go and read up more and get more smart about the vPro technology. vPro technology is not one technology; it's a collection of technologies, and there are information that are available in the description that you guys can go look at. And then I would also highly encourage you to look at, if you're basically deploying Windows 11 in your environment, you can actually look at how the newer generation of Intel products are enabling better security on Windows platforms with Windows 11. So essentially, a lot of that information is available for you in the description. And feel free to hit me up on Twitter. My handle is like @realvenky, and you can also hit me up on LinkedIn if you have questions or ideas. And I appreciate Jerry for the opportunity, and thanks to your audience for amazing questions. I would
Yeah,
love to come back sometime.
absolutely. Thank you very much, Venky. We'll see you next time. All right.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So that we've reached the end. Unbelievably, that went really fast, of another excellent deep dive Simply Cyber Live, today focused on the Intel vPro platform. As we've seen today, the Intel vPro platform, it's an enterprise solution for protection, detection, recovery services. It provides unique out-of-the-box hardware-based multi-layer security measures. Venky went into great detail. It actively monitors for threats. It helps protect your business resources and data. A massive thank you to our special guest, Venky Venkateswaran, for his invaluable insights and his great demeanor and the potential to get him on stream for quantum computing, virtualization, AI, and so many other conversations. Venky, your expertise has not only made us smarter, but has also brought us closer to understanding the power and potential of the Intel vPro platform. And of course, on behalf of Venky, we both owe you a huge thank you. Chat, all of you, the Simply Cyber community, all of you took time out of your busy schedule to engage with us, to learn more about this Intel vPro platform. Your questions, your comments, your participation, it truly added 10x value to today's conversation, making it more interactive and exciting. You're the reason we do what we do, and we can't wait to see you back here for the next episode of Simply Cyber Live. Now, I got a link in the description below. You can see here, if you guys want to, the link is going to take you to this webpage. If you'd like to learn more about any of the things that Venky mentioned on the stream today, go ahead and hit that link. It'll say like Intel. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it'll clearly be the link in the description below. And I'll drop it in chat, or Base, if you could drop it in chat, that'd be great. And go check it out, please. There's a lot of opportunity here to help you secure your business, help you secure your end users, make Carl secure without Carl knowing he's secure. So definitely go check that out, okay? The beauty of technology is its evolution, and so is the beauty of learning. So as we continue to delve into the exciting world of cybersecurity, let's take a page out of Intel's playbook and keep pushing the boundaries of our knowledge, always striving to understand more, to question more, to innovate more. You've been listening to Simply Cyber Live's episode Security by Default, Mastering the Intel vPro Platform Ecosystem. On behalf of myself, Dr. Gerald Dozier, and the entire team behind the scenes that make the production work, thank you for tuning in. Stay safe and stay secure. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed that content. Keep the cybersecurity train going by connecting with the other Simply Cyber community resources. We have the Discord server that's lively and always keeps the conversation going. You can connect with me directly on LinkedIn. And also every single weekday morning on the Simply Cyber channel, we're doing live daily cyber threat briefings, 8 a.m. Eastern time, as well as Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We're doing live stream interviews with industry experts, and we produce videos that we push out every Wednesday morning. I'm Jerry from Simply Cyber. I hope you